Hello everybody, and welcome! Today we are looking at the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, Darth Maul. Now this is the variant, as we've all very well can tell, from the finalization of the Clone Wars. And as you can tell, I'm extremely excited. Darth Maul is one of those characters who shouldn't have been as popular as he was, but like just through the power of Filoni and through the power of prequels fans, he is now a very big boy. So, the best part of getting the figure out of the box is obviously the time it takes to carefully unbox the thing, so you can preserve it for later and sell it on for future collectors. So as you can see at the very front there, as we always do, there's always a nice little tab to pull off, just so it's... Firstly, already looking in the box, there's more colour on it than I was expecting. I know that sounds weird, but I didn't remember there being like colours on his belt. And as we can see, the robot tootsies, they're not as mental as they used to be in what did he come in season 4? But I like the aggression on his face, and it's going to be cool to see how he poses. So quick impressions of him out the box is, he's a very imposing figure for the small body that he has. Darth Maul isn't known for being the biggest. I think that's why he was put with Savage Opress in the good old cartoon. What I found when I first got it out the box, though, is a lot of the joints were very, very, very stiff. And there was paint kind of like stopping some of the joints moving. So for example, the ankle rocker, it was very hard to get that to move at first. If you've got a heat gun or anything, that's fine. I don't, so I just had to brute force it. You really shouldn't, because you can break your figures doing such a thing. And at the minute, I love its look. It's been a while since I've watched the final episodes of the Clone Wars, but what I'm telling is, it feels like Maul. It feels like Sam Witwer has been melted down into plastic and just shoved down into our box. So although I do the comparisons close towards the end, I think this one might be important for now, just to kind of show what I'm meaning. So for each release of the Darth Mauls, the different head sculpts have been different, because I think it's just so you can swap the heads, which I might try in a bit, unless I break it, then whoopsie daisy. But it's also to just give you different things for the shelf, different styles. And for the one on the right, it's a much more growly face. Whereas the one on the left, it's more grimaced. It's more like in the middle of combat, you wouldn't be like shouting your head off. But this one here, it's a nice blend of the two. So this is like the in-between face. Phantom Menace is very quiet face, because he's more quiet in Phantom Menace. He's more reserved. And then in the comic, he's absolutely batshit crazy, as you can see on the right. And then in Clone Wars, he's batshit, but he's trying to prove a point. So I don't know how you want to take it, what face sculpt you prefer. But I think they're both kind of special, both kind of beautiful. I think the face is definitely skinnier to get the animated look a bit more, compared to the one on the right. The one on the right's more round, and it has smaller points, whereas they're more accented on the one on the left, the new one. So if you want one that's a bit more articulatedly cartoonish, I guess, the one that like speaks more Clone Wars, it does feel like they have made it look a bit more animated, compared to the Phantom Menace one style on the right. Always two there are. No more. No less. Also, if we are comparing, if you look at the lightsabers really quickly, even just from that quick glance there, you can see that they are different lightsabers. The top portion of the Clone Wars Season 7 Maul is different to, is the same as the one, is the full staff of Son of Dathomir Darth Maul, but the latter half portion, which is the part he rebuilds after it gets cut in half, and you can see that there is actually a different sculpt. So, like I said, there are different sculpts for both the lightsabers, which is quite nice, and when you pull them apart, they will, you do have the little peg, as you usually do, in the lightsaber, which, if you don't like that visual, you can just put them together, but like I said, there's also pegs to port them in the side of the figure. I'm going to quickly check now to see if there's actually a peg hole in Darth Maul. Which, to be honest with you, there doesn't seem to be. I don't know. Am I blind? I don't think there is a peg hole to store them. Which makes sense, actually, because it is on the old sculpt of the lightsaber, so they might have actually just completely reused it and not just cut off the peg. So you can cut that off if you wanted to, because I don't think there is a peg hole to put it in the new Darth Maul. So for the robo legs, there's a two-tone grey. There's a more metallic grey and then a more matte grey for all sides of the legs. And that is the only paint on them. There's no bits of gold or wire in there. So it is a more basic look. But to be honest, I think it works quite well to balance the figure out. So it's a very simplistic look except for slight parts around the torso and face. So that's where it keeps your eyes of interest, where the legs themselves are quite plain. I will say though, because of the proportions, it does look like he has like put them on. They look like boots rather than legs. Like when you look at them from a certain angle though, when it looks like the shoulder pads are off, you can see where like it's the hinges are like robotic. But is that a nitpick? Yeah, probably. That's a massive nitpick, let's be honest. I'm not gonna lie, I've also just realised he puts half short trousers on his robot legs. Because he's cut up there, but he's got cargo trousers on. There's like pockets there. I mean, yeah, a dude might want pockets for Sithery business, but like, I've just realised, yeah, he covers up his robo genitalia. Good work, Darth. So let's try and get into this articulation business that I always forget something halfway through. So for head, it goes actually really far up. So for Jules and nice photography, that is very nice. He has down, so he has perfect swivel, and it looks like he's got two neck joints. So like it looks like he's got a lower there, where there's the seam. Same as the Obi-Wan Kenobi figure that I reviewed last time. If you want to go check that out, link will be below. It looks like they've went for a new neck seam, so you can get like two swivels, which is quite nice. I think so, or it might just be a gap in the mould. Either or. Let's go to shoulders. With the new Black Series figures, what they've been doing is they've had a shoulder piece wrapped around the joint. So this shoulder piece is free-flowing to get out of the way of movement. And it's just like there's a ring around the joint itself. So sometimes if it's up there too long, what you'll find is when you bring it down, rises a bit, so you might need to heat it up, put it down. If you leave it for long periods of time, like if you leave your figures posed or whatever your business. So it goes that far up. I would say that's perfectly 90. And I'd say that's perfectly 90 as well. The shoulder pad does not really get in the way. It might get in the way of rotation, so you just need to rotate it with it. So, for example, if you do it like that, it gets popped out that way. So rotate it with, and you're perfectly fine. So you can get a full 360 there. Arms. I will say, when this did come out very tight. So, more than 90 though. Actually, yes, more than 90 if you do angles. But it is very tight on that arm, so do be careful with this figure when you get it out. That's 90, but you can push it further than 90. And then, I think both have that type of swivel, but I shall make sure. Yeah, it does. So they both have tea drinking hands. Slurpy, slurp, slurp. And full 360 of that, because it's very easy. So, this figure, let's find out what its ab crunch does with that massive piece in the way. So it does twisty twist, but it doesn't like it. Not too much up or down. It has more back than it does forward. So actually, I'll show you this way. It has more back than it does the forward. Which makes sense, because you've got this massive torso piece here. A massive cummerbund. And you can push. I don't want to push it because it's making those clicky noises. So that doesn't sound healthy. Legs, you've got the torso tunic that gets in the way. But it does get pretty much 90. Back. Oh shit. So it twists out the way. But it does go back. But it looks like he's breaking something. Knee is perfectly 90. Which is serviceable. Like I said, the ankle pivot is tough, but it does work. And that's about as forward as it gets. But because of the robotic look, you do get quite a lot of pivot once you get it to work. So when I want you to do that take again, I want you to scream! I want you to scream! George, I must be more sophisticated. Like in The Phantom Menace, why am I going fucking mental? So although this isn't accurate like in the slightest, it's just cool to see Maul within Ahsoka. And honestly, although for a more simplistic figure, not as bad as the Obi-Wan previously, it's an absolutely beautiful thing. And they've put some lovely little details and colours and spots I didn't think there'd be. But they've also changed things to make it fit the more animated style. So the proportions are slightly different to the previous Mauls we saw. but also the face sculpt is completely different. It's thinner, like how he looks in the good old show, where he's got more of a he's more, I don't know, decrepit. Like, he's not focusing on his body as much. He's not like hitting the gym. He's not doing those concentration curls as much. You know, he's just focused on killing Kenobi. But obviously that doesn't go his way now, does it? So seeing him with Ahsoka here, like in the show, just not with the Clone Wars Ahsoka, because that thing is fucking expensive. Thank you, scalpers. So the best bros are back at it again. They look beautiful next to each other. Obviously, they don't look like this next to each other at any point, but my favourite look for Obi-Wan is the Clone Wars Season 1 to 3 look. Well, first part of 3. And seeing him next to the Season 7 Morley boy, it's beautiful. I love it so much. Honestly, they shouldn't fit well together because they don't fit like in time canonically, but that's just beautiful. I love how they look. I will say though, the more I look at him, I don't think my camera's picking it up just because of white balance and that, but he's got you might need some dull coat on his face. It's quite shiny because the new face printing technology, I think it's called. It's all shiny these days, whereas like face printing back then it was like muted, whereas now it's shiny. And you can't have the Siege of Mandalore without a Mandalorian, so here's how he looks next to a Death Watch Mandalorian. I definitely didn't just want to put that in because it's my favourite figure of 2022. I just, you know, it looks pretty, the red and the blue, you know. And that's how tall he is next to Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan being shorter, but still more violent than most people in the Star Wars universe. It's fantastic news. We love violence. And who's excited for Mandalorian Season 3? Oh my god, put that in the comments. Because, Jesus Christ, I'm so excited. Let's get into some photography. Let's try out some things. Let's see what we can do to show off this bad boy. So, what did you think of the shots? Let me know what you think of the figure overall. Absolutely love this figure. He's a beautiful thing. Can't wait to see him more in the collection, and can't wait to ridiculously buy more to make things go with said figure. Much love. Press like. Bye. Have a lovely day. Sayonara. And always remember, George will love you in the power of the Force. Kenobi! George! I don't know. Daredevil.